What's up, guys? So today I have an interesting video for you, I hope. I did actually film the complete teardown and cleaning and all that good stuff of this watch, but the file was corrupted. So I don't have that big clip, unfortunately, but I still have lots of footage, and hopefully I can kind of walk through some of the quirks of this timepiece. One thing to note is this is going to be a gift for my good friend, and he picked this watch out specifically because of the character and the age it showed. So we talked about it and we decided we're not going to do anything to it. We're not going to replace the crystal, polish it, you name it. It's going to look exactly like it did when we picked it up, which I think is a great choice for a guy like him. This is a bit different than the traditional movements that I'm used to working on, like the Swiss movements that lots of people know and love. This is definitely a little bit more robust, but also less serviceable. And it certainly wasn't service friendly, at least for me. I had a lot of issues getting it back together, and things were riveted together and things like that. So that presented some challenges. So this has been a really challenging one for me just in general. But other than that, a lot of the components were straightforward. Like the front bezel comes off, just like the back, with a nice knife. You can just pop a knife in there and pop it open and all that good stuff. Of course, the hands and everything else come off straightforward. Now, when the bridges come into play, once you start to service the movement, that's where it gets a little weird. You know, there's technically, three bridges? There's the one for the balance, there's the one for the main spring, and there's one for everything else. And so that involves you lining up the pivots for not only the keyless works side of things, but also you have to get everything down to the fork. So your entire train of wheels, everything has to line up perfectly along with that other side by the stem. So it was quite challenging. That step took me a good 30 minutes each time I did it, because it was just not easy at all. I'll be honest. So when I received the watch, it wasn't running, but everything else looked pretty good. The only issue I ran into early on was actually removing the stem. And, it wouldn't pull out into the time set position. And it just really was stuck in there, gunked in, whatever. I got it pulled out to the first position, which took a few minutes of, wiggling and whatnot. And then when it came to actually removing it from the movement, it just wouldn't go. And so again, kind of just wiggling and hoping for the best. It had kind of a detent on the backside, on the bridge where you press it in and it's supposed to release the stem. And again, I had such a hard time getting it out, and eventually I got it out. And I don't know if this issue existed or if I caused this issue while I tried removing the stem. But there's this kind of like intermediate wheel, little bridge deal that kind of sandwiches two of them together. And this thing bent. And it has a pin that goes through the backside. And this pin that goes through hooks to the set lever, or what I would call a set lever. And, the pin was bent. And so how it interacted with that little setting lever mechanism deal, it just wasn't lining up properly. And the angle was wrong and whatnot. So essentially the stem would go in and come right back up because there's nothing to catch it. So after I bent that kind of bridge in place on the dial side and hoped for the best, everything lined up and worked, I would have just replaced it with a donor movement, but it's riveted in place, and I personally don't have the skill set to do all of that. So thankfully it worked, and it seems to be holding up just fine, and only time will tell, but for now it seems to be working. Anyways, that's what happened, and that's why I couldn't set the watch. Once I got that figured out, it was smooth sailing. Now, I mentioned earlier this watch was a gift. I'm actually giving it to my friend Ben. He goes by Dead Miners on Instagram, and he is a phenomenal leather worker. And he's worked on numerous projects over the year, whether it's handles for a tintype camera or, camera strap, or now he's making watch bands for me. All of my different ventures and activities, he's kind of been along for the ride, and he's been very supportive. So I thought this would be a really great gift for him and something that he would hopefully wear and cherish for a long time to come. So Ben, here you go. This is your watch, and I hope you enjoy all of its quirks. I think it's exactly your style, and I think I'm going to pick one up for myself. I don't know what you guys think, but I think this thing's pretty neat. And even with the trials and tribulations here I've experienced, I would be willing to do it again so I could wear one. So that's that, guys. Hope you enjoyed, and we'll see you next time.